Excellent!
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the final stage of the build of my wife's new computer. We're calling it HotBox. There it is right there in its current stage of being builtness. If you missed part 1, check it out. I'll link it down in the description. That's where I kind of did all the assembly that you see here, as well as some preparation for stage 2, which is going to be bending some tubes for the liquid cooling loop, the custom liquid cooling loop, and those tubes are all right there. And then I also have a few other things. So this is the part of the video where I'm going to say the things that I'm going to do, and then in a few moments I'll move on and show you me actually doing it. That'll be exciting. But a big thank you to EK, of course, for their help and support with this build. I'm going to be using their DIY kits for 10 and 12 millimeter inner diameter tubing here, right there. And that will help me with cutting it open, and also it's got the little silicone insert that you put in there while you bend it. Also going to be doing some work on the lighting for this stage. So I've got the NZXT Hue. I've already attached it here to the little 3.5 inch and 2.5 inch drive mount in the Fractal Defy Nano S. And I've already got the wiring set up for this internally as well as far as the power goes, so fortunately that's good to go. I do need to place these LEDs in there though. These are all magnetic, which is really going to help. They're magnetized, they just stick to things. So I'm going to put those inside of the windowed side panel, and of course get that all wired up and then play around with some of the lighting options. I do need to run some power, so fortunately I'm just going to be able to get away with a single Molex connector here with 3 plugs on the end. 2 of these are going to be for the pump as well as the fan splitter that's in there, and then the last one I'm going to use this little adapter. I am going to have some ketchup and mustard back there in the cable management area. Sorry, but this is to plug in the 2.5 inch Kingston HyperX Savage SSD. So the tubing is ready to go. If I manage to get through and bend all the tubes the directions that they're supposed to go, I have, I think, 5 total bends to do. So one's going to be from the reservoir down to the pump inlet. From the pump inlet to this radiator here is already taken care of down there. So out of that radiator and over and into the graphics card, then out of the graphics card and up into the top radiator, out of the top radiator and into the CPU, and then out of the CPU block into the reservoir again. And then of course I can use a little guy here to fill everything up. Now around on the back I have already installed that Savage SSD, and I do have a little bit of cable management still to do. But I think what I'm actually going to start out with is a very slight repositioning of my reservoir, because I think if I just got to drill one hole in here, and I will be able to basically take the reservoir and ever so slightly shift it, just ever so slightly up and ever so slightly that way. So I think that'll help out, and from there I can go ahead and start bending my tubes. I do have a few more fittings still to put in place. Those are all lined up right here. And I think the last part of this story to tell you is, well, no, two last things. One is that I don't think I'm going to use this flow indicator. I was maybe going to put it vertically, like right there, coming down, and then that would attach up to this one. But I don't know. It just, the finish isn't the same. It's not an EK part, and it doesn't have the same finish on the fittings. So I don't know. It doesn't blend in quite as well. So I think I'm just going to skip that. Anyway. Assuming I get all that done, we'll move on to the actual liquid. So I'm going to just do straight up distilled water first to like test it and leak test and everything. From there I'll be using some of these dyes that I got, and I picked these up from Performance PCs. This is PrimoChill's Intensifier Bright Orange, and this is Mayhem's Orange dye. So if I have a couple options, I might do one or the other, or might mix them both together. Who knows? I think that's enough introduction though. I hear the heat gun calling my name, so let's get it on. The final phase, building HotBox. Here's the DIY kit. Got the saw, tube, sandpaper in case you need to sand the tube if it's too thick. I hope I don't have to sand my tube. The soapy water has proved ineffective. This is as far as I was able to shove it in there. Looks like I'm going to have to sand the tube. It's my first bend with the new, thicker tubing. It's a bit of a challenge. I think I might actually switch to high heat for this. It turned out okay, but I'm not going to use it. It's a little warped in the outer part of the bend. Not quite up to standards. Ta-da! Wow, this is literally like 2-3 hours into this. This is my first usable bend. I tried to go with what I thought was going to be the easy one first, but this thicker tubing really is pretty challenging to work with, especially in a tight space with tight curves, so it took me a while to get what I wanted. Anyway, it's going up there in the top left. Time to install it. Time to move out from right on top of this hot heat gun. Well, alright guys, it is the morning after, and I have good news and bad news. Well, mostly just good news and then some other news. We'll start with the good news first. I got all these tube bends done and the tubes installed, and it has now been running. The pump's running right now, full speed, and it's been going overnight, or at least, yeah, probably for a good, I don't know, 14, 16 hours now. It's hardwired up, or hot wired up in the back to that power supply, and everything is great. So leak testing is a go. I don't have any leaks, that is to say, and you know, that's all good news. Now the other news is that I've made a decision to sort of extend this project because ultimately there's a few things that I'm just not 100% happy with. Now this is going to involve getting some additional hardware because I think I'm going to need maybe another extension or two, or another little bendy piece or two to go in there, fittings that is, and I'm going to need to get those, and I'm not going to be able to get those before Computex, so I'm going to need to follow up this video again in a couple more weeks at least. So I will have, you know, kind of a final version of it for now, but let me go and talk about what I actually want to change, and that is really almost all of the actual tube bends that I did. What happened last night was I spent the first probably 2.5-3 hours failing pretty much over and over again. I was trying to get this first bend done up in there in the back. Usually you want to start with something that is either further back, so you know it won't be blocked by the other tubing, or something that is, you know, fairly simple. I thought that one would be fairly simple. It wasn't, just because this is 16mm tubing, it's thicker, it's a little bit harder to work with. I found I needed to use more heat. That, or just I was pulling too much wattage from this entire circuit in general, so the heat gun wasn't getting as hot on the low setting. Anyway, it was just a fair amount of trial and error to start out with. As you might be able to see down here, there's a lot of my failed attempts. Many over there. That's not even all of them. I have more right here. You know, it was a learning experience. Like this one. This one came so close, except for that crappy part right there. This one was an attempt for that right there, and it actually turned out quite good. I think it actually turned out a little bit better than what's there right now, because the one that's there right now I think goes too far that way. This isn't straight up and down. So this bend, you know, I wish was more straight up and down. I might want to do a kink in it here to get it to go more straight into the radiator. This one also could be a little bit more vertical here. It comes out further than I wanted. This one I'm actually fairly happy with. It does have kind of a bulge right there, but you know, I kind of like the way this one turned out. That was a kind of a last minute decision too. I was just going to go more straight across into here, and I realized that just the proximity of this was going to make that really difficult to do the bend properly, and so I put the fitting on there and was able to do this U-bend out there, and I thought that turned out pretty good. The one in the back was the first one, and I was just like, oh, thank God I finished this, so I put it in there, and it's a little bend and McTwist job, and you know, it's also just a little warped. And then this one here is just kind of lazy, you know, it doesn't really go that way, and it doesn't really go intentionally that way. It just kind of, yeah, it's like, yeah, I'll move over there. It's straight here and here, but anyway, it is something that takes a lot of practice, and I did learn from a very good teacher in Jay's 2 cents, but you know, this was definitely challenging. So, oh, the other thing I wanted to do is figure out a better drain situation, and I actually think that with those fittings that I have back here, I can set that up. I can pop out a drain maybe straight down through the bottom of the case. So that's another thing that I want to do. Again, maybe in a couple weeks after I get back from Computex. So for now, I will close off this video by showing you some initial testing with the orange dye, some closing off of the cable management in the back and closing things up, and then, you know, the kind of finished build. Oh, you know what I didn't talk about? LEDs. My NZXT-Hue is installed. I got it in the back at least. Right, it's right over there. So Hue's installed right there, and it's all wired in, so I got power to it and all that good stuff. It comes out right here, and I'm just using the magnets right now to go along this side, and then it's connected up to another one that goes along the base, which you probably can't see very well, but there it is. So it goes along there, and then I'm going to use this little cable here to attach that to the bottom of the one in the actual side panel. And then I'm going to put that on the side panel for the rest of them. It goes up to the top. I have a weird way of kind of pushing that into the case, but it's actually not very visible. So that will go up the left side and across the top of the case, so I will be able to have the full wraparound experience that you get with the NZXT-Hue, which does some pretty cool effects you can do when it's all up and running. Anyway, that's all for me, at least for talking portion of this video. Thanks for watching, guys. And here's the rest of the build for now.